Top story is everything Trump is doing. He is hammering the judge that tried to stop his deportation flights. There's an interesting conversation to be had there. There's also some sparks between sanctuary cities and the Department of Justice. Are they actually going to do something about that? He's also got the relationship with Mexico and Canada kind of on the rocks, but, there's hopes that these kids can work it all out. Here to make some sense of it, my first guest, Connor Vasil on. Welcome back, Connor Vasil.
Thanks for having me, sir.
So this guy has been super duper busy. What do you talk about first? We got a lot going on. We have, where I'd like to start? The White House speaking out. Trump has... Pam Bondi has spoken out against the terror attacks on Tesla, although I cringe to call it that a little bit, but it does meet the definition, violence, intimidation, property destruction for a political purpose. I mean, what your thoughts on this? Are they actually going to do something?
Well, like you said, I definitely think it is a form of terrorism. You saw some hackers announce today, I believe they've sent out all the information regarding Tesla owners. And as you saw with all the damage done to dealerships and cars, this is just facially terrorism. They're using this to intimidate. They're using it to scare them into, not supporting Tesla for whatever reason they want. But considering how fast this administration has been going, I think they're definitely going to start investigating it, just like they have been with the recent swatting attempts.
Right. That's another thing. The thing that kind of surprises me is I have a feeling that with all the swatting, with all the terror attacks on Tesla and what's going on, they're pushing people away. I don't think this is what the American people are looking for or what they're going to think is cool. Is this going to end up hurting their brand in the end, Connor?
This is basically the schoolyard bully that slaps you around saying, wait, you don't want to be my friend? Why not? Here, let me slap you some more. They're basically doing that with the Constitution, with American citizens, and just our country in general. They have gone to the point either because they don't have the foresight into seeing how this will pan out, or maybe they're just that radical. I'm talking about the people who are, intimidating and damaging property. They think their only recourse at this point in time is to actually do physical damage. And it just shows how obsessed they are and irrational they are in terms of politics.
Well, the other thing you had brought up, the swatting, that's something I have on the list to talk about today. Juanita Broaddrick got swatted. If for those of you you're like, that name sounds familiar, that's who Bill Clinton raped in the late 70s. And I allegedly, reportedly, whatever. She actually has a date, a time. She has witnesses who saw her bruises because he bit her lip. She immediately told people afterwards. Like there's actual evidence for this. Yeah, like other people can confirm that she had a meeting at a hotel and she went up to his room, big mistake there, but didn't deserve a rape. She got swatted last night. So God, y'all held her down. Y'all raped her first, and then y'all went and made fun of her and called her all kinds of names when she brought it to the public light. And now you've shamed her and tried to ostracize her from public life. And now you're swatting her.
It's horrible. If anything, all these instances, all these acts of intimidation, and even at some points violence, what it should remind Americans that this is what could have happened if we had Kamala as president. This sort of irrational intimidation, just constantly nonstop. If you think it's bad under Trump, can you imagine under a Democrat administration?
Well, I don't think they would be nearly this upset. I think if Kamala had won, there wouldn't be Teslas on fire everywhere. There wouldn't be people getting swatted. There wouldn't be protests every weekend down here in City Hall in Dallas and in Fort Worth and in Denton and whatever else.
Can I tell you what would have been more likely in place? Sure, there wouldn't be as many Tesla fires and the swattings and things, but there probably would have potentially gotten to the point where we've been having laws on the books saying, well, if you say this specific thing, that's hate speech, and we're going to investigate you for it. And they're going to keep going after, let's say, pro-life protesters. And it's just a different form of censorship that'll come about at the end of the day. But, would you rather have it from the grassroots, as we're seeing now, chaos?
Connor, are you looking at my notes? Because I was about to use that word with the next thing I'm bringing up with you. They're also having their hissy fits at the town halls. Now, not Tim Walz' town hall. They let him. No. There's just raucous applause. I mean, it sounds like the beginning of Saturday Night Live, where everyone's, whoa, look, it's Tim Walz. Come on, loser. But the problem with them heckling all these other town halls is there's a guy around here, a state rep and a congressional representative who have canceled town halls because there's no point. These protesters just show up and shout them down. And here you have, it's called the heckler's veto, but it really is a de facto censorship.
Exactly. I mean, it just depends on where you want to see it from. Do you want to see it from the government, or do you want to see it from these wokies down the street? But at the end of the day, it just shows how much we need to, as Americans in general, get back and become involved in politics, in civics, and to raise a new generation that actually is knowledgeable of how these processes work, as opposed to just getting fed everything they want off of TikTok.
Yeah, I hear you. Connor Vassell, where do we find some of your work these days?
Thank you, sir. You can find me on the Twitter X, as they say, at Connor_Vasile. That's V as in Victor.
So I don't know what to call it. Is it Twitter or X or Twitter X or X Twitter? Or we still haven't figured this one out.
I'll go by X. It's okay.
That's fine. It's terrible branding, though, because no one knows what you're talking about. Hey, did you get that X I sent? X what? Ex-boyfriend? X Xerox? What are we talking about? The letter X? I don't know. But everyone knows what a Twitter is because it's only one word used for one thing, and X is used as the letter of the alphabet. It marks the spot. What makes people do this? What makes people go to a town hall and shout it down? What makes people say, I've got to set this car on fire? I am so angry about my politics. I don't get it. How does that change anything? Oh, you're trying to intimidate your political opponents into what? Cowering? You're trying to intimidate people who maybe don't own the Tesla but look around saying, well, I better not step out of line or that could be me. You think you're the good guy? How do you explain this behavior? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. 288-9227. What makes someone call a SWAT team on all these people? We were talking about that a little bit yesterday and on Monday as well, and it's still going on. The latest victim of the swatting, since we started talking about it just a couple days ago, Juanita Broderick was swatted. You people are terrible human beings. Are you nuts? You're swatting Juanita Broderick. This is the believe all women thing. Oh, really? Believe all women? What about Juanita Broderick? Oh, no, not her. Oh, no, she's clearly just lying for political purposes. But it's not just Juanita Broderick. Gunther Eagleman, Nick Sorter, Juanita Broderick, Mike Lee. You know who else got swatted? Joe Pags. Joe Pagliarulo. I meant to ask you before the show. I might as well do it now. Garrett, can we get Joe Pags on? He got swatted, I think it was on Thursday. And I want to talk to him about what that was like, and because we have a guy that's on our station in the middle of one of the biggest stories of the month. So, yeah, so we got him on before. So I would love to talk to him about that. What makes people do that? What makes you think you're in the right if you're calling a SWAT team on your political opponents? And the Juanita Broderick one is, I wasn't even going to talk about it today until I found out about Juanita Broderick. Because, how much can you just ruin one woman's life? Because it's not the same thing as all these other ones, like Brett Kavanaugh had never been accused of rape or sexual assault in his entire life, and some woman shows up without a date, without a location, without even a year, she knows the town, but she knows it was during the summer, but she doesn't know which summer, she doesn't know which house, she doesn't even know which neighborhood. The 4 people that she claimed were there all said that they have no idea what she's talking about, but still, we almost upended a Supreme Court justice confirmation for no evidence, for nothing but he did it, and I have no evidence, and I didn't tell anybody about it, and there's no one who will back me up on this. And she was believed, and she's still believed. There's still people who call Brett Kavanaugh a rapist. But Juanita Broderick was accusing Bill Clinton. Do you know how many people are on the Bill Clinton sex list? I typed this out, 15 years ago. I can't believe how much I've had to use this. I actually keep a list of all the sexual assault and rape accusations against Bill Clinton, all the consensual affairs that they've admitted to and they're confirmed, and then all of the consensual but unconfirmed affairs. You want to go through the list real quick? This woman wasn't believed because Juanita Broderick is first. This happened in the 70s. I think he was just the Attorney General of Arkansas. I think this was before he was even governor. But it was her, then Eileen Wellstone at Oxford when he was in England, Elizabeth Ward Grayson, Regina Hopper Blakely, Kathleen Willey, Sandra Allen James, an unnamed 22-year-old in 1972 at Yale, Kathy Bradshaw, Christy Zerker, Paula Jones, Carolyn Moffitt, unnamed 1974 student at the University of Arkansas. We have a report from 78 to 1980. There were 7 complaints to the Arkansas State Troopers that they swept under the rug about their governor. Linda Tripp, Betty Dalton. Those are the rapes and sexual assault accusations. Here's the consensual, publicly admitted and confirmed affairs. Monica Lewinsky, Jennifer Flowers, Dolly Kyle Browning, Sally Purdue, Marcia Scott, Conna Hamsey. The consensual but unconfirmed affairs, Mary Jo Jenkins, Susan Coleman, Robin Dickey, Lenora Steinkamp, Kimba Wood, Kelly Craighead, Charlene Wilson, Dee Dee Myers, Susie Whiteacre, Catherine Cornelius, Cheryl Mills, Bobby Ann Williams. So here we go. I mean, some of these people have claimed that he's like fathered their children or he paid them or whatever. And we didn't believe Juanita Broderick when she came out and made her accusations. You know, there's all this smoke. There's got to be fire. Or there's not just smoke. This looks like the Pacific Palisades a few months ago. That's what's going on. And we still didn't believe Juanita Broderick. And she's tried to make her case and she's tried to, you know, get some justice for her suffering. And of course, she's tried to make political points as well. But after calling her all kinds of names and calling her a liar and trying to ruin her entire life constantly for the last 50 years almost, now she's getting swatted. People are terrible human beings. And that's the question. What makes people do this? And I don't want to just ask rhetorically. I want to try and give you an answer. I go to John Cleese, and I don't know what year this is. John Cleese from Monty Python. Everybody know who I'm talking about. He was in Quest for the Holy Grail and The Life of Brian. You'll recognize his voice the second you hear it. I don't know when he did this. It looks like it was in the 80s, and you can kind of tell because the audio very clearly sounds it comes from a VHS tape. But this is the best explanation I've found so far on why people become extremists like this.
We've heard a lot about extremism recently, a nastier, harsher atmosphere everywhere, more abuse and bother boy behavior, less friendliness and tolerance and respect for opponents. All right, but what we never hear about extremism is its advantages. Well, the biggest advantage of extremism is that it makes you feel good because it provides you with enemies. Let me explain. The great thing about having enemies is that you can pretend that all the badness in the whole world is in your enemies and all the goodness in the whole world is in you. Attractive, isn't it? So, if you have a lot of anger and resentment in you anyway, and you therefore enjoy abusing people, then you can pretend that you're only doing it because these enemies of yours are such very bad persons. And that if it wasn't for them, you'd actually be good-natured and courteous and rational all the time. So, if you want to feel good, become an extremist. Okay. Now, once you're armed with one of these super lists of enemies, you can be as nasty as you like and yet feel your behaviors morally justified. So, you can strut around abusing people and telling them you could eat them for breakfast and still think of yourself as a champion of the truth, a fighter for the greater good, and not the rather sad paranoid schizoid that you really are.
Is Monty Python really just like secret geniuses they're pretending to be dumb? Is that what's going on? We're going to talk about something I know you absolutely love. You can't wait, right, to pay your taxes. Isn't that right, guys? And then don't you love okay, I was wrong on that one. Well, then good. You're going to like my next guest. Nicole Benoni Wilson. She's a tax controversy manager at Prager Metis. Nicole, what does that mean, a tax controversy manager?
Well, I promise it's not too controversial. We end up helping taxpayers with different taxing agencies like the IRS in various states with unpaid liabilities, disputing balances, helping with penalty abatements, sort of some things like that. So,
are you a CPA?
I'm currently 2 tests in, but on the way to being one. But I'm the daughter of an attorney CPA, so I've had some few conversations.
Good. Just want to get that out of the way. Let people know what your expertise is. So let's talk about the tax filing deadline coming up in less than a month. Is there any big changes from this year compared to years past?
Well, I think it's common knowledge here. The IRS is in a flux, so there's a lot of unknowns. So what can the average taxpayer do this tax filing season to prevent any future headaches? And My top three recommendations, obviously, is number one, decide who's going to prepare your return. Are you going to prepare your return yourself, a friend, or a professional? If you're hiring a professional, do the due diligence. Number two, gather the tax documents. Gather your W-2s, your K-1s, your 1099s, your summaries of your capital gains and losses. And number three, set up an IRS account. Go to irs.gov, look for that ID me. Take a look, see what's been reported to the IRS. You have something at your fingertips called a wage and income transcript. And this is all the income that has been reported under your Social Security. Now, typically, you don't see everything until May, and there's additional sources. But, sometimes you forget what source of income you have. I mean, I'm lucky sometimes if I remember what I ate the night before. But, you can also on this platform see what estimated tax payments you made or if you had any liabilities from prior years. So I would highly encourage taxpayers to go and do that. It's an easy resource and free.
All right, Nicole, I think the big question, the first big question people have to face when preparing their taxes is, do I take the standard deduction and just do the easy shortcut way, or do I go off and itemize everything? How does someone know the answer to that question, Nicole?
So the itemized versus standard, your standard deduction for 2024, I believe off the top of my head, is $29,200. So if you got expenses, let's say like in charitable deductions, or you've got gambling losses, or let's say you got a casualty loss. I hope no one out there does. But, if you have those expenses, there's different limits on those expenses. But if they exceed that threshold, and you're married filing joint over that $29,200, you're definitely entitled to take them. For example, though, like with gambling losses, you can only deduct up to the amount of winnings you have. And then for charitable contributions, it is subject to a 10%. Medical expenses, it's in anything excess of 7.5. So, look, and again, as I said, circling back, gather those documents, start adding them up in a spreadsheet, and just see where the numbers fall at the end of the day.
Well, you had mentioned the gambling thing. What are the rules around that? Because this may be something that factors in. Irving is having a big controversy on whether or not they should build a casino. Hey, you might get a new tax write-off.
I mean, I lived in Oklahoma for 4 years, so I definitely know the drill. But with gambling, you have to keep very clean records, and note that it has to be on the same type of gambling. So let's say you go to Casino A and you hit the slots and you win $1,000, and then you go to the next slot and you lose the $500. But then let's say you go to Casino B and you want to try your hand at some blackjack and you end up losing $2,000. You can't just deduct the slot winnings from Casino A against Casino B. You have to keep it very clear and at the type. You've got this sports betting, and my current supervisor is trying to get this legislation, as it varies state by state. New Jersey, they recognize the Fed's rules. Not all states do, so look into your state rules as well.
All right, Nicole, my last question is, you had mentioned find the right person to help you with your taxes and do your due diligence. What counts as due diligence?
So due diligence, just because you hire a tax professional does not mean that you've relieved yourself of all of your duties. Still stay on top of it. Ask, have they filed? Ask for the confirmation. This is some common mistakes I see with taxpayers. In your due diligence, look at the professional. See what type of filings that they're familiarized. You may need a foreign filing. Make sure they have that experience. Sometimes I would recommend visiting with a local CPA in the area. For example, my father hails from Western PA and my boss is from New Jersey. Two very different state taxing authorities. I mean, when we had to live in Oklahoma and Texas. Again, they're two very different. So do your due diligence and ask the questions and see if they're familiarized with the rules and where you're getting your wages. Well,
I always feel it's very important to do everything you can to get your tax burden as low as possible because the government has not earned a tip.
Well, do your due diligence and visit with your tax professional and make sure that everything's above the line. So then you'll be in good hands.
Agreed. All right, Nicole Bononi Wilson from Prager Metis. How do they find you online?
Feel free. My last name rhymes with the lunch meat, Bologna Bononi, if you ever can't find me. But if you just Google my name, that's why I hyphenated.
Is that your Twitter handle, Bologna Bononi?
Yeah, but I should say there is no Bologna with Bononi. Just vote Nicole Bononi. So
oh, my goodness.
My 8th grade president campaign.
That is such a dad joke. Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate your expertise here as we go through the very much hated tax season. My next guest, the great Anthony Russo, who, if you haven't seen it already, go check out his walkaway story. I love those, Anthony, and I loved it when I found yours last year. Welcome back to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me. I actually bumped into Brandon Straka on a plane about 2 weeks ago, and him and I talked for like 30 minutes from the Walkaway campaign. So,
well, shut up. That's pretty cool.
I know. Really good guy. Really, really good guy.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, he's the guy who started the whole Walkaway movement, if you call it that. But Anthony, I want to play a clip here from Pam Bondi, our new attorney general in D.C., who says she's going to go after the Tesla attacks as terrorists.
We have people we're locking up on that. We have someone in jail right now from one of the dealerships. They threw a Molotov cocktail through a dealership. They're looking at up to 20 years in prison. So if you're going to touch a Tesla, go to a dealership, do anything, you better watch out because we're coming after you. Wow. And if you're funding this, we're coming after you. We're going to find out who you are.
Anthony, do you think they're really going to start throwing people in jail for 20 years for this? I mean, I kind of hope they do, but what do you think?
I mean, I don't think they'll actually. I mean, I think that they could push for 20 years. It's going to be up to the judges, and the judges can go in so many different directions. So I don't think that they're going to get 20 years, but I think that at this point, what's happening to Tesla owners, to Tesla dealerships, to Democrats that own Teslas that are just randomly getting their cars burnt up and blown up, this is getting to a serious level, and it speaks volumes to not just the fringe left anymore, because I don't see anybody in the Democrat Party condemning it. I don't see the AOC speaking up. Instead, they're actually putting fuel on the flame about how terrible Elon Musk is. Look, you can disagree with our president. You could disagree with the way Elon Musk is being tasked to do things. That's the great part about a free country. But you can't destroy and vandalize property. So you're becoming a domestic terrorist. And if it's 20 years that we want to put as the threat, I think that might be the only way to stop this psychotic group.
Well, we also have the real easy workaround here. If you want to scratch a swastika on a Cybertruck or throw a Molotov cocktail through the side window of a Cybertruck, buy it first and you can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, exactly. Spend the $100,000. I was in an online argument, which I try to get out of these days, but I'm not even start. But I was watching somebody compare this to the Bud Light situation that happened.
I love that comparison. So yeah, I saw someone brought that up. Maybe I saw that on your Twitter. I don't know.
Maybe. To me, that is the worst equivalency on the planet. So he bought, like you just said, go buy the Tesla and then destroy it. He paid for a couple cases of Bud Light at a couple $100.
Are you talking about Kid Rock?
Kid Rock. Sorry, I forgot to say that. Yeah, Kid Rock bought it. He shot it up, destroyed it.
I have audio of that. There it is.
Perfect. And then in the end, it also created a boycott because I believe people, if they don't want to support Elon Musk, or they don't want to support Tesla, they don't have to go buy them. I get we have a free market, free speech, free society. That's great. Let the market dictate. Doesn't mean you can destroy a $100,000 piece of property. So the fact that the left is bringing up this false equivalency shows the absolute idiocy that's coming from that side when they're trying to qualify this as, well, hey, this is us just standing up for our rights. No, this is you vandalizing individual and people's property the same way you did during the Summer of Love with BLM, right, and then got mad at January 6ers for walking into a building they were let into.
But
I don't get it.
Just the poetic irony of this, I love that, because that's the example I would bring up. Remember how 2 years ago the right wing was all mad? Did any Bud Light trucks get set on fire, Anthony? Did someone throw a brick through the window of a Bud Light brewery or a Bud Light distribution center? Did anyone go into anyone else's house and take their Bud Light and destroy it? No. So that's a perfect comparison. When the right wing gets upset, they may destroy some of their own property, but they're not going to go damage other people's properties. They're not going to set anything on fire. They're not going to go attack a business. They're not going to set vehicles on fire. So this is a perfect example. Which side is more well-behaved? Which side is more civilized? And which side is more terror-focused? And I don't mean to overuse the term, to water it down, but violence or intimidation or property damage for a political cause meets the basic definition of terrorism. And we get to see right now who is the bigger terrorist when it comes to political activism. Clearly, it's on one side.
And to top it off, you've got the politicians instead of trying to quell the destruction, instead they're continuing to speak of him being a Nazi, of Elon
right.
Trump.
Right.
So it's like you're not helping the situation. And you did say one thing that was wrong about bricks being thrown into bars and brewery and stuff like that. There was. But that was during 2020 when there were BLM riots for innocent bars. It just so happens there's probably Bud Light in them. But again, this is one specific party with one specific leadership, and I don't want to be political like, oh, it's the Democrats or the Republicans are great. They both have their issues, but right now the Democrats that are standing behind this and being silent and complicit are no better than people that stood by. And I'm going to say the reference that's really, really bad. During Nazi Germany, you're standing by watching these people destroy other people's property and potentially hurt other individuals, and you're saying, well, it's qualified.
Oh, yeah, Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, when they went through and they destroyed, they broke out the windows of all the businesses of their perceived political enemies. I think that's, I kind of cringe at any Nazi comparisons, but, that's there's a little bit of an echo there. Let's be non-political in the fact that I have actually seen a lot of my Team Blue friends, people who call themselves Democrat and voted for Kamala Harris, actually speak out against this. But I don't see a whole lot of people putting a microphone in front of their face. I see, some influencers online on Facebook and X and Instagram speaking out against this. And so I think there's a big chunk, maybe a majority of our Democrat friends who agree that this is wrong.
Apparently our algorithms are different. I kind of go seeking it, and I haven't seen people condemning this. I really have. So I trust you. Obviously, your experience.
I'll give you a big example. Do you know Angela Belcamino? She's the girl with the 5 head that's been a big Team Blue supporter this entire time.
I don't, but I love a big forehead. I need to check it out.
Well, I mean, look, she's a beautiful girl, but she's super duper lefty, and says that, hey, this is clearly wrong. I can't believe property destruction is on my lefty bingo card, and you people are defending it. So there are some little strands of hope out there.
That's really good, and I hope to see that. Maybe me talking it out loud where my phone can hear it. Maybe it'll all of a sudden change my algorithm. But I mean, I don't think it's enough. I think the CNNs of the world, the MSNBCs, and the actual politicians should be the one voicing this whole like, hey, let's stop with the violence and go forward. I think they're enjoying it because they're getting to use. I think Tim Walz was on stage. Holy nut job he is. He was on stage talking about every day how he's so excited about how Tesla stock is going down. The reason it's going down is because there's such a destruction of property. People are going to be, it's a future situation. People are going to be afraid to buy his product because of the vandalism and destruction. And what was almost the vice president of the country is not just not condemning it, he's celebrating it. This is disgusting behavior.
Yeah, they're like, yay, this guy who was formerly our political ally turned against us, so let's destroy him and his entire company. Isn't that hilarious, guys? We're the good guys, right? They're the bad ones. Anthony Russo, how do we find your work online, sir?
Truth Will Set You Free USA on Instagram is a good hub for it all. And as you know, I do some speaking classes. If anybody wants to join, they're free. Go to doubledownspeaking.com.
Something that may end up being historic, but I think may be a nothing burger, happened yesterday, and we haven't quite got it all fleshed out. The JFK files were released. An executive order had been signed. And finally, we have somewhere around the neighborhood of 80,000 pages. This is something like 63,000 documents and 2,100 PDF files, and God knows how long those PDF files are. I am not reading all that. I refuse. I'll just wait for the special to come out on Netflix, like the little 8-episode miniseries on what the new JFK files say. But I think we're going to come back to the similar conclusion of the official report. Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. I think that he definitely had some contact with some federal agency, CIA or something to that effect, at some point. My interest in this story isn't trying to litigate what happened about 10 blocks from here. Actually, we're really close to the X in the street over here. I'm not so worried about finding the full story to that as I am how this echoes what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania last week. Because the questions easily become, why have these files been hidden for so long? Well, there's something the government doesn't want you to know in them. Everybody associated with that event has long since passed away, so we don't have to worry about protecting the innocent or blowback against victims or, finding the undercover agents being doxxed and exposed. We don't have to worry about any of that. So the only rational explanation most of us are tossing around in my mind, I am, you probably are, is the fact that this makes the government right now look bad. Well, how could it make the government right now look bad? The CIA. The CIA, if they are involved and they took a guy who may have done this and just sort of pushed him in the right direction, there's no doubt that they had contact with him before. But so far, all I'm seeing is the people who have tried to read through this and go through it with AI and come out with stories just right before the James Show started is, so far, nothing new. Have you seen anything? Is there anything you'd like to share with the class? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. This is Tyler in Fort Worth, or is this Fort Worth and Tyler? No, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
Hey, James. Yeah, no, the documents, it's a historic moment, right? Hopefully we see the truth and the government's being truthful. But even when you're going through it, it just numbs your mind. And I'm the novice to all this JFK stuff. I was born in 1990, right? And so just going through it, just trying to have an open mind about it. Some of the documents you can barely read. Some of the documents have coding in it, like secret coding.
Tell me about it. What does coding look like? I'd like to order a large pizza, please.
It's like ACJD, and it's it keeps going like that, right? Like ZXYB, and then it'll go down about and that's not every document.
Do you need the little Orphan Annie decoder pin to read it?
Right. It's akin to that. I'm sure it's much more high speed.
Interesting.
What I'm giving credit for, but there's correspondence to leaders after his assassination, to Vietnam, to the Soviet Union at the time, Japan. The committees that were trying to get this released in the 90s, in the late 90s, excuse me. And a lot of it just makes you feel more confused going into it than getting any clarity coming out. But, there's even redactions that they can't do anything about today. And so that have been marked out with a black highlighter. But the black highlighter also looks electronic, so that has me suspicious. And, I listened to Alex Jones, and one of the foundations that they're shown said that there's a third of that still missing.
Yeah. Because if it makes the CIA look bad, that could curtail the public's appetite to continue allowing the CIA to do stuff like that. And it may, turn the microscope on, hey, a lot of this echoes what happened in Butler last summer. So I'd like to get to the bottom of that. And just thank you very much for your breakdown there.
Just one more comment, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
The main thing that made my sparks fly up was the fact that there were so many documents about the CIA going into radio operations in Cuba, where they were doing, detailed mass, counterintelligence or trying to...
All right, I thought you were going to say something quick. You want to finish this on the other side of the break? I got to go.
Hey, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you very much. That's Tyler in Fort Worth. Did you learn anything from the JFK files? What do you think happened? Are you even optimistic that we'll learn anything from the JFK files? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Do you realize how awesome The astronaut rescue was yesterday. It was happening at the very tail end of the James Show. You could follow along on WBAP.com and watch the astronaut splash down. And for the quick backstory, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson have been these private billionaires who have made their fortunes in other arenas and then turned around and wanted to make spaceships. And so they three have been just blazing history, first private enterprise in space, and Boeing wanted to get in on that. Now, Boeing's a different animal because Boeing isn't a guy who made a whole bunch of money and decided that he's going to be the next astronaut or astronaut maker. Boeing's a company with a bunch of people, and they make most of the planes that are flying in and out of DFW and Love Field. They've been around. They're a known entity. But it's not like one singular guy. A big part of their income comes from defense contracts, and some people don't like that and whatever. But Boeing was making their first big flight up. I forgot what the name of their vessel was, but it was dropping off a couple folks to the International Space Station about 9 months ago. They were supposed to stay for 8 days. Then they were going to hop back on the Boeing Starliner or something, whatever it was called. But there were some problems. I think it was like the heat shield or the flux capacitor or something like that was messing up. And so they dropped off the astronauts at the space station, and then they decided it wasn't safe to take this thing back to Earth. And so the vehicle returned without them. Now, there are stories, and it's been said, and Elon was talking to Joe Rogan 2 weeks ago, I think is where I heard this, that he offered to take his Space Dragon or whatever it's called up there and go rescue them. But the Biden administration turned it down. NASA said, no, we don't want this guy that is seen as on Team Red doing anything impressive right in the middle of an election cycle. And so now that Trump's in office, he gave him the green light. They set it up. They sent a ship up there to pick him up. They hopped in. They came back. Everything's great. Life saved. Just history. It's one of the biggest scientific advancements of your lifetime. Some of you were born before we went to the moon. Some of you were born before we even made it into space, Mom and Dad. But now we have private sector fellas just sending up their own spaceships to go pick up astronauts who get stranded on the space station and bring them home like it's nothing. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing what is being accomplished here? Now, the scale of this guy's never going to get the credit for the rest of your life because he's already seen as persona non grata, or actually literally Hitler by the mainstream media and legacy folks and people who are just politically attached to that narrative. And that's a damn shame because not only is Elon Musk doing what all but like 6 governments in the world can do, he's doing it 20 times cheaper than NASA ever did, even when you adjust for inflation. 20 times cheaper it is for him to send someone's big butt into space. And I mean that is fun. I'm not making fun of the astronaut size. In fact, they're all smaller than me. That's one of the prerequisites to be an astronaut. They're not sending up any 400-pound people. In fact, I'm too big, so I'm making fun of me too. Don't get all upset. No, well, we need a lot more fuel. We're going to need a bigger rocket, Garrett. But the amazing thing about what Elon Musk is doing is he has revolutionized space travel, of course, even above the other billionaires who have tried. He is doing space travel better than any government entity has ever done it. Cheaper, more efficiently, yeah, and also more quickly. This guy is sending up rockets faster than NASA ever could. He did 3 launches in the same day last week. One of them was sending the ship to go get these dudes. There was another one that was dropping off Starlink satellites. Another one was, I don't even know what. I just know there was 3 on the same day. So you have to start wondering, like, how is history going to view this fella? Because there were a lot of people throughout his career thus far comparing him to Thomas Edison because Thomas Edison's a polymath. Wait a second. Do you know what polymath means, Garrett? I know Kimberly probably does, but Garrett, you know what? That's when a guy has expertise in more than one field. Like he's a doctor and he's a lawyer and he's an engineer who can design bridges. Like Leonardo da Vinci is a polymath. Thomas Edison, a polymath. You know, he makes the telephone, he makes the gramophone, he invents the microphone just accidentally. And okay, thank you for the correction, Alexander Graham Bell. You know what I mean, though. He invented a lot of things in different subjects. Well, Elon Musk was one of the guys who started up with PayPal, and then he moved on to Tesla, and then he's moved on to SpaceX after that. Solar City, not a resounding success, but it's at least an attempt at an entirely different industry. But Starlink's a big one. Neuralink's another endeavor of his. And so this guy is just making huge accomplishments. And, you know, you marvel at what you can get done on a regular Thursday. Look at what this guy has gotten done. And so I'm starting to get past the fact that he's the Thomas Edison of our time and kind of scooting into... He's the greatest inventor of all time, you know? Like who progressed humanity in one single human being more than this guy? And look, I'm no Elon Musk writer. I'm not a huge fan of his, but man, give the dude his due. Who has done more? Who's made bigger inventions, especially in such, you know, dramatically different industries than Elon Musk? It's not only is he the greatest inventor of our time, is he the greatest of all time? Like, who's done Nikola Tesla? Maybe, ironically, the namesake of his car company. But we're getting into some pretty rare territory with this guy. And so you think about it. If we have one of the greatest minds in human history, definitely of our time, what's the problem with him going through the government and trying to slim that up? I have no idea what people's problem is. How about we just let him go in there, do his thing, and see what the result is before we call it an absolute embarrassing failure, guys? Elon Musk has been pretty impressive and has a pretty good record of success thus far. Maybe, look, here's what I'm really hoping. When he gets done with all this goofy SpaceX stuff and Neuralink and all these other companies, can he come coach the Cowboys or maybe be the general manager? Can we get that to happen? Because our record of success pales in comparison to Elon Musk. A couple of things that just popped up that I think you need to know about. Ken Paxton, his staff heard me talking about the Capel ISD story earlier, and he volunteered to come on. He's going to join us at 4:05 on the James Show to talk about what he's doing to the Capel ISD when they admitted that it looks like they may have admitted on a secret camera that they're breaking the Texas state law against CRT. So that's coming up. Also coming up, and my next guest is David Alcott. We're going to talk about the Gen Z trend of revenge quitting. And I got to remind you, the next James Show listener meetup, Plano Sports Tavern, March 25th. That's this coming Tuesday, 7 p.m. It's at the corner of Parker and Custer. Plano Sports Tavern, March 25th, 7 p.m., Parker and Custer. I got a few giveaways from the WBAP prize closet. Some other people are going to bring some stuff to give out to other people. Bring whatever, give it out. I don't know what's going to happen here, but we'll try and have fun. I know we're going to crush some beers. So come out, have fun, meet me, judge me based on my appearance. Plano Sports Tavern next Tuesday. What are those crazy kids doing these days where they're doing something called revenge quitting? What is that? Well, that's my next guest. Returning to the James Show, David Alcott. Welcome back, sir. First, explain to us, old fuddy-duddies, what is this newfangled revenge quitting, sir?
James, thanks for having me back on again. The best way to really talk about this or define it is quitting is the most destructive way of creating a protest against what people are thinking is unfair treatment at work. Okay, so what's different about revenge quitting versus just regular old quitting? The timing is the big part of that, James. So a lot of this revenge quitting is happening during peak times of restaurants where a waiter will walk out on a shift. Oh, yeah. Okay. So you wait until a crucial time and then quit when it hurts the most? Yes, sir. Well, that's brutal. Where did this come from? Well, it's been here for a long time, but it just hasn't been as prominent or as the size and volume that we're seeing today. And again, I hate to keep blaming social media, but so much more access to this type of behavior is, it's being seen by our kids, and they're seeing this as something to do, and they're just following and mirroring and matching that. Yeah, and I try to not go too hard on the next generation for how they're misusing social media. But me and my friends, when I was growing up, we were idiots. And I can only imagine half of the stupid stuff we'd have done if we had these tools at our disposal. And I am so thankful we did not have cameras or video things when I was dating or anything else I was doing in my younger days, because I would have been in a lot of trouble.
Well, if you're an employer, is there anything you can do about this? Just be nice to the younger people, or what?
Actually, there's some really great strategies that a lot of our companies are using, and that is to really start understanding that the relationship with your employee now starts from the interview process. And there's some great questions you can ask us, scenario-based questions. For example, did you hear about that Amazon employee that quit in the middle of their shift during their route? They left the trucks and the packages right on the road. How do you feel about that? What do you think the company should do with that employee? The answer to that from that in the interview will give you a lot of insights about how they think about the workplace.
Ooh, yeah.
And appropriate ways to exit.
Love that. That's fantastic advice. All right, David, sorry to cut it so short. We have the Attorney General coming on next segment. I got to get the heck out of here. Your website still samuraiSuccess.com?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, David. We'll have to do it something longer next time. But that sounded like solid advice. Feel them out. Hey, what happens if you're an employer gets screwed over by an employee? What should happen to him? I love that. All right, revenge quitting. Just don't do it to me, Garrett. Garrett will walk out like in the middle of the show one day. I guess that would be revenge quitting. All right, coming up next, special guest, the Texas Attorney General of all people, volunteered to come on the show to talk about the lawsuit he has against Capel ISD, just a few exits up the highway here, about them sneaking around a Texas law. That's coming up on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.